For landlords, by landlords. The Rent Perfect Podcast with David Pickron.
Well, we are glad to have you here today. We're here at the Rent Perfect Podcast. Scott, I've been traveling like crazy lately.
You have, I've noticed.
It's nice to be back here in the studio with you, talking about the important things that landlords need to know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we all have these experiences. We're just lucky enough to be in front of a microphone and share them.
We get to share it. And I love that we hear from, when we're out traveling, I love that we hear your stories because it helps us broaden our horizons on what we can talk about and what the struggles are that are out there in the
And on that note, there's always a comment section. I mean, feel free to put your story in there. Let us know that you've experienced the same thing. Maybe you have a great idea that, you know, I mean, just because we're behind the microphones doesn't mean we know. In fact, we learn from a lot of these conversations from our clients, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's how we just soak in this information, and we pass a lot of it on to you. So feel free to comment, subscribe, like us, share us. We certainly appreciate that. So I came back a little while ago and turned to one of my units and rented it to an individual, just a really neat guy that was sadly going through a divorce. Happens, right?
That's life.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, bad things happen to good people. It's just life. And he was a little torn because he still, I think, in his head had to make the decision, am I leaving or am I not? And I could just tell as I was working with him and meeting with him, he just loved the place, wanted to be there. But then I think in his mind he was going through, I'm going to be here by myself.
Yeah. Am I really doing this?
The kids? Yeah. How are the kids going to look when they come and either live with me with custody or stay? Or I just know in his life he was just going through, you know, a lot of things in his head. And so he asked me as we were going through the property, he said, is there any way you can provide a washer and a dryer? Okay.
Ooh, landmine. Landmine ahead. Warning.
So, of course, I would love to help out anybody I can help out, right?
And you want to get the property occupied.
And so the easy answer would be yes, or the easy answer would be no. But at that point, I had to sit there and think for a second. And I said, you know what? Let's do this. Let's see if you like the property. Let's go ahead and have you apply. Mm-hmm. Let's see if you meet the criteria.
Okay.
Let's get a little bit further down the road before I answer that question. Okay? I just didn't feel like I could answer that question because you said landmine.
Yeah.
Right? Which inspired me to talk about today, what should we provide and what shouldn't we provide? And what does it look like, and how can it be beneficial, or how can it really bite us in the butt? Right.
It's interesting because this podcast will probably drop in maybe December, and this is our batteries not included time of year, right? But there's a reason they don't include the batteries in these. Can you imagine the amount of returns Hasbro would have because of defective batteries?
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah, they're not in that business for a reason. But this will tie into what we're talking about, I think.
Awesome. Well, and I think this ties into long-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
It ties into mid-term rentals, and it ties into short-term rentals. And so let me give you an example of a short-term rental, and then we'll give some more examples here. My wife, in a short-term rental, wants to think about everything a family needs when they're on vacation.
Or could possibly. Could possibly need.
What would make their trip amazing? Right?
Yep.
So she's not even thinking about the property. She's thinking about the experience that people are going to have. She's looking for a good review. And she feels like she does a great job. She feels like she's almost part of their vacation, even though she's not there. She's providing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because she's a pleaser. She's a giver. And that's just her personality, right?
And she's one of the most wonderful women in the world.
She is amazing.
Yes.
As she's with me is amazing, to be honest with you. But anyways, that's another podcast, another day, another topic.
Different topic, yeah.
So she loves to put in things with propane tanks. So fire pits, barbecue grills, right?
Yeah.
And though I kind of agree with her with the barbecue grill, these fire pits, they run for hours at night. And, you know, if you don't shut them off right, you just drain the $40 propane tank, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always like, we are not going to put those in here? And she's like, yes, we are. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mama usually wins that.
That's right. That's right.
But Mama also gets the phone call and the review when the propane tank is out. Okay. Right.
We have we had to eat half-cooked chicken because your propane tank ran out.
So you're right.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
a great point. You're halfway through dinner. You've set the table.
Yeah.
And the steaks are on the grill and
yeah.
the chicken. And all of a sudden,
Yep.
flame goes out, right? Now, all of a sudden, that is a downside to this rental.
Yep.
Like, I
Negative
cannot
experience.
believe that the propane tank is not full. And I wish they had like a full and empty mark on them. You almost have to pick them up.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
how heavy is this?
Yeah.
You know, they're difficult to deal with. Anyways, if you never had the propane tank and you never had the fireplace, you could, in a short-term rental, probably get the 5-star rating because they didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's going to say, hey, I wish this had a fire pit on it, but right in the middle of this happened. And so sometimes we can provide things, even in long-term rentals, that we think are advantageous and beneficial, but they cause us more grief, right? Now, what goes through my head on this washer and dryer? Okay. If they put their own washer and dryer in and it breaks,
it's their baby.
Do I even get a phone call?
No, never.
I don't even know about it, right?
Right.
If it's my washer and dryer and it breaks, what have I become?
You're now the appliance repairman.
I am the appliance
repairman. You're the Maytag man. Yeah.
And I don't want to be the appliance
Yep.
repairman. So this happens a lot on refrigerators, washers and dryers. Now, most of your stoves, if you're built-in microwave above your stove, your dishwasher, they kind of are permanent appliances. You probably can't get away from that, right? But I make sure, and it is important for you to listen to this, if I leave anything of mine, a vacuum cleaner, a lawnmower, right? Anything that wouldn't come, nailed down to the ground of the home, right?
Attachments, anything.
I make sure I cover that in the lease, okay? It has to be called out in the lease. First of all, ownership has to be called out in the lease. I own the washer and dryer. I own the lawnmower. I own the soft water system in the garage. Whatever you have that can disappear needs to be in the lease.
Identified in that lease.
And then how you want to handle it needs to be identified in the lease. So the long story short is I did buy this washer and dryer. But in the lease, I stated the washer and dryer I own, but every bit of maintenance is yours. If the washer and dryer don't work anymore and they need to be replaced, I will take out my washer or my dryer and you'll be responsible for replacing it with your washer and your dryer. Okay?
I like
so
that.
I make sure when I get that phone call, hey, your washer broke. Hey, you need to go back to your lease. I provided that for you as just a nice guy, but you have to maintain that as if it's yours. It's not yours.
Right.
But you have to maintain that if that's yours. So I will have a lot of clients not put in ceiling fans, not put in any appliances at all because they just feel like in their rentals they disappear, they get thrashed, they get beat up.
Yeah.
And then I'll have others that are in maybe, a little more expensive rental, leave a few things behind that they feel like. So just based on the finances of the property and what it looks like. And so nobody knows your property better than you, so there's no way we can tell you do this or don't do this. We're just saying if you leave stuff, make sure it's covered in the lease and how it will be maintained, how it will be repaired, and ownership of that.
So do you put a provision in that lease that says if you've bought the washer dryer, do you put a provision in that says at time of that you vacate the property, if they have to keep it there. If they fail to keep it there, then there's a financial. And
that's why I state ownership of everything we've left, right?
Yeah.
The owner owns the washer and dryer shall be left, right, when you leave. I make sure and document all ownership.
What if they took it? What happens?
Well, I have a deposit.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So washer and dryer plus, say, they ruined the carpet. Right? I mean, like any other landlord, I might get in a position where the deposit is completely used up. And I need to go after them for, more money. But
gotcha. Okay.
But there's a good point there too. If you're leaving expensive things, make sure you cover that with a deposit. Now, you got to make sure that, in Arizona, we can't go over a rent and a half of deposits. You got to make sure that you know in your state what your max rental security deposit is. And so that's for another podcast.
Can I ask one more question? I'm so sorry.
Sure.
But TVs. What if you provide TVs? Do you put a provision in there for those as well?
I mean, that would be the same thing as a washer and dryer. I don't know. I just don't think I would provide a TV personally, but this is me personally.
I mean, short terms you have TVs.
Oh, absolutely. Short terms, mid terms, but long terms, man, I almost feel like washer and dryers are the necessities.
Okay.
And if you want the additional, you can go out and cover that. Once
I'm
again,
glad I asked. Yeah.
Personal opinion, absolutely leave a TV if you want to leave a TV. So.
Okay. I like it.
Thank you for those questions.
Yeah.
And I think you know the answers to those questions.
Well,
I just think they need to be answered.
They do need to be asked and answered.
Scotty, thank you so much for helping me today and being such a great sidekick and keeping this conversation going. We love being landlords. It's the best job in the world. I say it all the time. If you're thinking about getting into this industry, you need to. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of deals. Yeah, interest rates are high. Real estate is going up. But it's going to continue to go up. It is not coming down.
I don't think so.
I was just looking at stuff in our market here last night, and it is still going up, and it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like
it's counterintuitive for sure.
It really is. We're in a crazy spot that I don't think we've ever been in before. People always refer to, in 2006 and 7 and 8, none of this. And I don't think we're even close to that dynamic. So, but I do still think that you should be investing in real property. And until next time, continue to rent perfect.